Remember those F Trudeau flags? I think Justin Trudeau might just be signing out with a middle finger to literally everybody. Like, let me explain, okay? So, Justin Trudeau announced today that he's stepping down as the Prime Minister of Canada. And whether you believe it should have happened 6 months ago or whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. He's gone, right? Or more accurately, he will be gone after March 24th. Justin Trudeau has asked the Governor General to prorogue Parliament till March 24th. And for those of you who maybe don't know what prorogation entails, it just means all Parliament activities stop. So there will be no voting on bills, there will be no debates, and more importantly, there will be no confidence votes. It's a little different to the dissolution of Parliament, which happens right before the general election. But here's why his resignation at this point, in this fashion, is such an opioid to his opponents, his party, and the people. As I said, literally everybody. So I bet after waiting this long, Trudeau's tormentors-in-chief, Pierre Poilievre, and to a lesser extent, Yves-François Blanchet, were hoping Trudeau would fall to the ignominy of losing a non-confidence vote. Instead, Trudeau says he will resign once the Liberal Party has had a chance to select the leader. Now, I don't think people quite understand that Trudeau has basically played puppet master throughout the full session of the House. When the supply and confidence agreement with the NDP got ripped up, lots of people were expecting an election to follow in short order, right? Instead, he got support from the Bloc Québécois and a few non-confidence votes. He even got the NDP back on side till the final days of Parliament, right? So this is a bit of an opioid to his opponents because he has essentially snatched that satisfaction off the table. The other thing is, till this point, Pierre Poilievre has built a campaign off of telling people how bad Justin Trudeau is. So think about it. For the most part, nobody can really say they know how, and that's the key word here, how Pierre Poilievre intends to fulfill any of his promises. So he says he will fix the budget. Okay, what are you going to cut, Pierre? And the other thing he says is he's going to axe the carbon tax, right? Some of us actually care about having some form of environmental strategy. But to be fair, I like his plan to develop housing. He plans to make permitting a lot faster and reduce government interference. You know, I'd like to hear more about that, actually. I'd like to hear more about that. What is his plan to build more homes? What is his plan to make life more affordable for Canadians? I think with Trudeau out of the way now, Canadians can finally start to ask him those really important questions. And you'd hope that his plan is not similar to John Rostad's plan. Those of us in BC remember how John Rostad waited till a few days to the election to release his costed platform. And in the end, his plan was full of shit. Tell me you don't feel like John Rostad literally fumbled a very winnable election here in BC. For Pierre Poilievre, he's got all the fluff. My hope is that he's not just a big donut, hollow in the middle. But speaking of opponents, on his way out, I think a lot of people missed this part. It was pretty subtle from Justin Trudeau. Whatever chances Chrystia Freeland thought she had of being leader, I think she needs to perish the thought right now. So here's what Justin Trudeau said when he was asked about Chrystia Freeland.
Up until 3 weeks ago, you were intending to stay, and it seems that the event 3 weeks ago of Ms. Freeland coming out and saying you were firing her as your finance minister was the catalyst that brought us here today. So can you explain your side of what happened there?
Chrystia has been by my side for close to 10 years now. She has been an incredible political partner through just about everything we have done as a government and as a party over the past decade.
Now, I don't think you realize that he's made this a bit of a tandem jump with Chrystia Freeland. He has tethered her to his record. In her letter of resignation, obviously, she was trying to distance herself from some of the more recent policies the government has put forward. But it goes without saying that she cannot untether herself from the Trudeau record of the last 10 years. Like, she was there for it all, right? So maybe this is for the best. I think if the Liberals had put Chrystia Freeland forward, Pierre Poilievre would have had her on toast right away. So maybe it's better she doesn't come forward. The second big FU was to the Liberal Party. Yes, the proroguing of Parliament does give the Liberal Party roughly 77 days to choose a new leader. I mean, he's done them a favor, right? Without a parliamentary session, there will be no confidence votes and we won't have an election, at least till April, right? Yeah, that's true, but you've got to think about what time a new leader would have to work with here. Like, at the moment, we're still finding out who will run for the Liberal leadership. I hear Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney have been working the phones, but there are other names like Christy Clark and Francois Philippe Champagne being thrown around as well. So my guess is that it will probably take all of 2 months for them to select a new leader. Okay, that brings us to around February or early March. So that gives whoever wins the Liberal leadership only 1 month to get their messaging across, right? I mean, the opposition isn't obliged to give the Liberals any time to get their message across, right? So whoever the Liberals put forward may just be fucked right from the start, right? Plus, they have to try and differentiate themselves, all while Canadians can sit there, because Trudeau's still in power, they can sit there and point to all the ways they feel like Trudeau has ruined Canada. But to be fair, I don't think it would have made much of a difference if Trudeau had resigned 6 months ago. The opposition could still have triggered an election right away and would be exactly where we are right now. But here's why this is an even bigger flip-off to Canadians. So Trump will be inaugurated January 20th, right? The whole situation with Canada becoming the 51st state is a joke. He's a troll, right? He's not taking Canada. But his tariffs won't be very funny. So maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but Trump's tariff strategy against Canada is two-pronged. And it's quite obvious once I tell you what it is, right? So yes, he is transferring the blame for the fentanyl crisis and the influx of illegal immigrants to Canada. Classic Trump. But when you think about it, the tariff also lets him potentially negotiate a more favorable US-Mexico-Canada agreement. And who do we have fighting our case? A prime minister on his way out. He's got zero legitimacy at that table now. So, like, who's fighting our case? And you add on the blatant disrespect that Trump steadily treats Justin Trudeau with at the moment. So we're basically in a position where the premiers and even city mayors are having to take the lead in Canada's defense. The problem with that is our message is not very unified, right? Danielle Smith, for example, is saying we need to appeal to Americans and make them see that tariffs are not the answer. Like, where's the pride in this country, right? It's almost like we're rolling over, eh? So, bringing it back to Justin Trudeau, it has been clear for months that he couldn't win the election. He should have left. Instead, he leaves Canadians in a really vulnerable position by leaving right now. And here's where it gets even better. So, remember that as part of his little Hail Mary at the end, he basically added $1.6 billion to the federal deficit with that ill-advised GST holiday. That didn't help him. And neither does it help Canadians because someone is going to have to pay for that in the future. But as I kind of come to the end of this video, though, beyond reforms to our electoral process, which Trudeau promised coincidentally in his own ascent into office, but never did, beyond electoral reforms, I think we need to have term limits for prime ministers as well in this country. Maybe we could do like 2 terms the way the Americans have it. Because it did not need to get this toxic for Justin Trudeau to leave. Anyways, all said, I know I've been kind of venting this whole time. I recognize that it's not easy to lead. And over the last few years, the world has faced many challenges with COVID and the inflation that followed COVID. And that's not just Canada. That's the entire world, right? The pandemic era has not been kind to incumbents. And Justin Trudeau is just the latest in the long line of casualties, right? The reality of leadership is that no matter how good your intentions are, people's reality/expectations are hardly ever kind. So I do thank the Prime Minister for his service to this country. I thank Justin Trudeau for his service to this country. So I'd like to throw it out to you guys though. How do you guys assess Justin Trudeau's legacy as Prime Minister? And if you're new around here, please subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time.